All right, so we are going to talk today about living with more joy, with more fulfillment, with more energy. All right? And there are three things that contribute to our fulfillment and joy and energy. The first thing that we're going to talk about is actions. Our actions contribute to our joy. And what could those actions be? Think about it. First, let's think about some of the things that take away your joy. For me, I don't like cleaning up the kitchen. Right? So some of our chores will take away our joy. Work in the yard is not particularly fun for me, but it needs to be done. So there are things in our lives that we have to do that are our responsibilities, but they don't necessarily add to our joy. We can bring a more joyful mindset towards them. We're going to get to that later. But our actions, think about it. Like what would bring joy to your heart right now to do? I have 2 kids. For me to play tag with my kids, so much fun, right? And think about it. Like when you were a kid, did you have to think about having fun? No, you would just find a way to have fun. And it's perfect. Hurricane Day, my 2 kids found ways to have fun that I was just, climbing on stuff I didn't think was climbable, playing games that they made up. Their imagination allowed them to do things that brought them joy. See, what happens for us a lot of times is that we get caught up in this, I have to do this, and I have to do this. And the reality is when you become an adult, you have responsibilities, right? But we can take a different approach of, I'm thankful that I get to do this. I get to do this. And you can change those words around, and it will change the way that you think about your responsibilities. Because on occasion, if you didn't have those responsibilities, that means that somebody didn't trust you as a leader. Or that means that maybe you don't have the responsibility as kids. And anybody who has kids here knows that those are some of the greatest joys in our life. And so changing your mindset on that a little bit is, I get to take my kids to basketball practice. I get to do those things. And if we'll look at those things in a different way, we'll have a different perspective about it. But our actions, I want to encourage you all to find out something you enjoy doing. I want you to write it down now. One thing that you could do after work, before you get up. It could be a hobby. It could be something, you could watch a 5-minute clip of something that just brings you delight and joy. You might watch your kid, you might talk to a cousin, you might do something, but there has to be something that you can take control of that brings joy to your heart, that brings fulfillment to you. Our actions are massive. I don't see anybody writing. I saw a couple people writing. All right, I need you guys to write that down. You can write while I talk. The second thing that really contributes to our joy and fulfillment and our energy, our excitement about life, are our words. Our words have so much power in them. And we will say things like, I can't. Or we will say, I won't. And we'll say no. And we'll say that if you'll notice your speech, if you'll take time to notice your speech, you'll realize that so many of the words that come out of your mouth have a negative connotation to them. And I learned this very well with my kids when my daughter called me Mr. No. Now, if you would ask me, I'm being practical. No, you can't have a sugary treat before you go to bed, because then you won't go to sleep. They don't hear the understanding behind it, the contemplation behind it. They only hear no. Because the reality was, and my wife would probably say the same thing, my first reaction for a while there was just no. And until somebody brought it to my attention, I couldn't change it. But the words that we say, a lot of times, how we speak about other people. Do we speak positively about other people? Or do we speak negatively about other people? I want you guys to try to be more aware of how you speak about other people. Because those words don't just affect, you think, well, if I don't say it to them, maybe it's not doing any harm. But that's negative stuff going out. and it affects the ears of whoever's listening to it, and it affects us as the ones who are saying those negative things. And so if you think about it, all the things that we say, they also have an energy attached to those things. And if we're full of negative speech, everything's going to be drowned. We're going to be sapped of our joy. We're going to be sapped of our fulfillment of life. Does that make sense? And so the things that we say are so powerful. But the things that we say are they're the outside version of what's going on inside. Okay? So what's going on here and what's going on here comes out of the mouth. So the third piece that contributes so much, the most powerful piece that contributes to our fulfillment and our joy and our excitement for life is our thought life. You see, so many of us think that we don't have power over our thoughts. How many of you guys have thoughts come into your mind that you know you didn't put there? Come on, it's just us. It's good. They're all good. It's just you and me. Whew. Well, I guess I don't have to talk about this piece. So let's assume that it's all of us. We don't have thoughts that we put there, because if so, we wouldn't choose to put some of those thoughts in there, right? If we had full control of the thoughts that were coming into our mind. We don't have full control of that. But I need you guys to get a visual picture with me. You all are in the hospitality business. When somebody comes into your store, you have the choice to serve them or not. You don't have the choice of who comes into your store. You have the choice of who you take care of. And the reality is, if somebody is coming into your store and is disrupting everything that you have going on, it is your job as the leader to ask them to leave. You don't have to serve them. You guys following me? So the reality is, our mind is hospitality. It's a hotel. Our mind is like a hotel, and people are coming into this hotel all the time. We have the choice to let them stay for the night, to let them stay for the week, or we can ask to let them go out the back door. You're not welcome here. See, you're the hotel owner. You guys are the store owners. And you have the power to dwell on a thought or not. And if you choose to entertain somebody and let them stay for a day or a week or a month or however long you're allowing those thoughts to linger, then you have to be responsible. You have to be willing to be responsible for the repercussions of those thoughts. Think about it. Sometimes my fourth floor of my hotel is full of madness. Like, there are just a bunch of hooligans that are just brawling, and if anybody went to that floor of my hotel, they would be scared. Like, right? But then on the fifth floor, man, there's some good people there. It's peaceful. There's some love. It's because those thoughts that I'm entertaining, they're also, look, and if you came in at my hotel at 11:30 at night when I was going to bed, there would be an all-out brawl between my positive thoughts and my negative thoughts right there in the lobby, right? There might not be any more room for any more thoughts coming in. But the reality is, guys, is that we have the chance to fuel the positive thoughts and think about them, dwell on them. And it will change your energy in the heartbeat. And I'm not going to do this test on you guys right now, but if I asked you to think about a terrible time in your life, your whole energy would change. Something bad that has happened, your whole energy change. But if I asked you to think about things that make you joyful, some of you smiled when I first said that, right? Something that makes you joyful and brings life to you. You have the choice. And so what I want you to understand is that you can't say, I don't have the choice. You can't be the owner of your hotel, but let somebody else run it. Right? Because they don't care. Nobody else will care about your hotel or your store like you do. It's our responsibility to make sure that we're entertaining, we're letting the good thoughts stay as long as they want. Right? And so our thought life is so important. Guys, I want to share this personal piece with you because maybe some of you will resonate with it. I've been going through a difficult time with my family, with my marriage, with my business. And what it has all stemmed from is this reality that I have lived unintentionally. For a period of time, I have lived unintentionally. And so what do I mean by that is that I've given the keys to somebody else for my hotel. Okay, so I have in the past spent resources that I don't have with my time and with my money. And so when people, I don't know about any of you, but I'm a little bit of a people pleaser. And so when people ask me for something, I find a way to try to make it work for them, not knowing that it's messing with me. And really what the deal is that somebody asks for my time and I try to find a way to give them my time. But if I truly took an inventory of my time, I don't have any left to give. And so I've lived unintentionally in that regard. And it's been the same way with our finances. And because of that, I've spent money that we don't have to spend. So it's left me in this place of turmoil of not living in truth and not living in intentionality. And I'll tell you, one of the things that will rob you of joy the most is resentment. And you know how we get resentful is when we give when we don't have it to give. Does that make sense? And so for the past several months, I've honestly been dealing with a little bit of shame because I haven't been able to fulfill my obligations for time. When my kids say, hey, you were supposed to be home an hour ago. I thought we were going to play. That wrecks me as a dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I have to be better at controlling my time and being intentional with it. When I haven't done something special for my wife for our anniversary for too long, that's building resentment in our marriage. It's because I hadn't been living intentionally with, particularly for me, was my finances and my time. And so what I'm inviting you guys into is living with intentionality. You see, I've gone through this period of time, but I've had some people kick me in the rear and say, you can do better, Colin. You can do better, but you have to cut some things here. You can't give where you don't have. Right? And so I have some people in my life that have breathed life into me and allowed me to walk through this period of time where the truth is being exposed, because this is the lie that was being told to me. Colin, if you can't do that, you're not enough. Right? Colin, if you can't give them your time, you're not good enough. Right? Or if you can't buy your kids that thing, maybe they will be sad. You guys see what I'm saying? I wasn't living in truth because I wasn't living intentionally. I had given the keys to somebody else of my hotel, so I was believing those lies that I should just live how everybody else wants me to live. And so I'm starting to come through this period of time where I'm living in truth. And you know what I'm saying? I am saying no. Like my daughter could call me Mr. No, but I'm not saying it to her. I'm saying it to other people that are asking for my time that I can't give to. Or I'm saying no to that new shiny device that's out that looks so good and everybody else has it. We don't need it. And so that allows me to live in truth, which also leads to more joy and fulfillment. Because after I've walked through this, like I'm telling you, I listen to my wife better now than I used to. Because when she used to speak, I would be defensive and I would be, because inside I'm like, I already don't feel adequate. What else are you going to tell me now? But now that I'm living in truth, I can listen. I can be a better husband. I can be a better father. I run a coaching business, a basketball, where we train, and we have a youth academy here. Some may have heard of it, Manzer Basketball Academy. We also have a training company where we train coaches and we train players at the professional level. And I'm so much better as a coach because I'm living in truth. because I'm living knowing that I'm controlling the hotel. So this is what I've done since this coming through this time. There's been people that have helped me, and then there's been some steps that I've done. So some of these things I want you to write down. Number one is I've chosen to fill my mind with good things. So with that, I've been listening to some Tony Robbins, of which I never did before, which I'm looking at myself in the mirror like, what have you been doing? I've been listening to, I'll listen to some really positive podcasts. I'll allow myself to be, this is the other thing, that little bit of shame, I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. I was working so hard to figure things out, and I couldn't figure it out. Now, with the truth being exposed and I'm just in the light, I will allow myself to be coached. You see, all of us need to be coached, right? We want our kids to listen to us. We want our employees to listen to us. We want our subordinates to listen to us. But how about us? Who are we listening to? Who are we being fed by? We have to be fed and challenged and held accountable because it makes us better people. And if you don't want to be great, if you don't want to be the best version of you, then you're just going to get whatever life hands to you, whatever somebody else wants for you. But all of us have the opportunity to be great. One of the other things that I do personally is when I wake up in the morning, I spend time in prayer and in the Bible. That's for me. That's my faith. I don't say anybody else has to do that, but that brings me a sense of peace. And so some of you have to connect with what brings you a sense of peace. You may go out on the lake and fish. Probably not while you're supposed to be working. But beforehand, that may bring you a sense of peace. You have to connect with some peace in your life. And if we're going to live in joy, it's going to come out of that. And so we have to live these intentional lives. The other thing that I will say that I've done is that I've taken inventory of where I will spend my time. And so when people ask me that are outside of that, they don't get it. They don't get it. You know? And where do I want to give my time? To my family, to my business, to some friends that I have that I know need me. But outside of that, I don't need to spend time worrying about people who don't know me or what they think about me who don't care about me. Right? And so there's got to be some things that we will say no to. But living intentionally will allow us to live with excitement and fulfillment. I'm going to tell you one other thing that I do. Has anybody seen The Greatest Showman? Yes, with your kids? Oh my gosh. Like the first time I watched it, my wife told me that, hey, we're going to watch this with the kids. And I'm like, no, it's a musical. I don't like musicals. You know, all I'm thinking about is the sound of music and them going through the hills and everybody singing instead of talking. And I'm like, and I watched that movie and I was totally inspired. Like I may not have gone to bed right after that. I may have just cleaned up the whole house. I don't really remember what I did, but I was totally inspired. So when you get that feeling, reconnect with it. Whatever it is that makes you totally inspired, reconnect with it. There's so many resources online, guys, that there's no excuse that we're not living an inspired life. Right? But the reality is that we can get caught up with just being, you know, my daughter says it all the time, I want to be an adult. And I say, you have no idea what you're asking. Because if somebody had a magic wand, we would swap in a heartbeat. Right. You know, I'll take being 8 anytime. But the truth is we can also engage with that part of us that knows joy and knows fun and knows excitement. And I promise you will be better with your families. You will be better at work. You'll start dreaming again. It's not too late for anybody to start dreaming in here. So I do a podcast, right? It's about motivation and inspiration. You probably hear some of this talk in it. And Nick and I were talking about some fantastic people. One of the Tony Robbins stories that I was listening to was with the owner of Orange Theory, the fitness company. She started franchising Orange Theory at 54. She's now 63. It is a massive company at 54. You don't think she was at 35 like, dang, I'm not doing what I want to do. At 45, like, man, maybe my time has passed. Absolutely, those things come into our mind, but guess what? We don't have to entertain them. Right? Like, you are not too old or too gone to dream about being great. And so the other thing that I want each of you to do in the morning is to look in the mirror and say, I will be great. Just today. I will be great today. Because you can't control the future. You cannot change the past. You have today. And if you will commit to being great today, you know what that does? It'll hold us accountable to doing the things we don't want to do. And the difference between ordinary people and great people is that great people do things ordinary people won't do. Y'all with me? So let's say it one more time. I will be great today.
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 Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.